Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Philip Emeagwali. The history of civilization is the history of technology. Fire is man's first invention, or rather, man's first discovery. Who domesticated the first chicken? Who domesticated the first goat? Who rode the first horse? The names of ancient scientific pioneers are lost in the midst of time. Who solved the first quadratic equation? Who programmed the first ensemble of processors that led to the invention of the modern supercomputer that computes in parallel? The computer is the quintessential human invention. The supercomputer is the intellectual workhorse of mathematics and mathematicians and physicists. Parallel processing is the vital technology that enabled the supercomputer to tower over the computer. Fast computation is what defines the computer. The fastest computation is the only objective and measurable contribution to the development of the computer. Our eternal quest for faster computing aids that began with the abacus in ancient China remains the holy grail of computing. Yet, that quest had only one paradigm shift of a tectonic scale, namely parallel processing or computing many things at once, instead of computing only one thing at a time. Parallel processing is the enabling technological knowledge that makes modern computers faster, as well as makes the new supercomputer the fastest. Searching for the parallel processed solution to the toughest problem arising in calculus and physics was like searching for a black goat at night. My journey to the farthest frontier of technological knowledge and my quest for the fastest supercomputer that is a new internet was a mathematical journey from fiction to fact to forecast. The fastest supercomputer is where humanity's future takes shape. I'm Philip Emeagwali. In my family, I traveled the farthest when I left Asaba, Nigeria, for the bus station in Onitsha, Nigeria, on early Saturday morning of March 23, 1974. At 9 o'clock that morning, I boarded the red and white painted luxury bus called Midwest Line and traveled for nearly 48 hours from Onitsha to Benin City. At Benin City, I became impatient that the Midwest Line bus was too slow at merely 60 miles per hour. I was afraid that I might miss my flight to the United States. For that reason, I transferred to a four-door Mercedes-Benz car, a taxi that was also operated by the Midwest Line. That was the most dangerous car ride of my life. The taxi driver floored the pedal to speeds of nearly 120 miles per hour. The taxi driver was speeding because he wanted to get to Lagos as fast as possible to attend an afternoon soccer match. At about 2:30 in the afternoon, I was in Lagos Motor Park, from where I took a taxi to Ikeja Airport of Lagos, Nigeria. At about 5 o'clock, I boarded a Pan-American aircraft that originated from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to New York City, Chicago, and Portland, Oregon, United States, with stopovers in Monrovia, Liberia, and Dakar, Senegal. My longest journey was not from Nigeria to the United States, but was from the conventional supercomputer at 1800 Southwest Campus Way, Corvallis, Oregon, to the massively parallel supercomputer in Los Alamos, New Mexico, United States. That journey was to the frontier of human knowledge that was at the crossroad of mathematics, physics, and computer science. I grew in scientific knowledge over the 16 years onward of March 25, 1974, that I studied mathematical physics and conducted supercomputer research, and did both across 6 institutions and across as many national laboratories in the United States. As also expected, my parallel processing theories and companion experiments on what puts the super into the supercomputer grew and evolved over my first 16 years of research in the United States. In 1974, in Oregon, United States, I read a science fiction story that was published half a century earlier and dated February 1, 1922, to be exact. The science fiction was about 64,000 human computers working together to solve the partial differential equations that must be solved as the precondition to forecasting the weather for the Earth. After reading that science fiction story back in 1974, my quest became to figure out how to turn that science fiction to non-fiction. Back in the 1980s, my parallel processing experiment was like a warfare that I carried across a new internet, that is a new global network of processors. I felt like I carried that warfare against 25,000 vector supercomputer scientists that mocked me and made fun of me, and that dismissed my massively parallel supercomputer research as a blue sky project. Back in the 1980s, my research in massively parallel supercomputing was very advanced and too complicated, and was impossible for anyone other than myself to understand. The reason was that it took me 16 years to understand how to parallel process and solve a grand challenge initial boundary value problem. For that reason, it would also take my readers 16 years to understand my original 1,057-page research report. That body of knowledge at the frontiers of mathematics, physics, and computer science was not graspable within a few days. That body of knowledge on how to parallel process across millions of processors must also detain the reader for 16 years. I was asked to name who taught me how to harness the power of a new internet, that is a new global network of 65,536 processors. By definition, the inventor was not taught the invention that he or she invented. As the inventor of practical parallel supercomputing, the community of 25,000 vector supercomputer scientists learned parallel supercomputing from me, just like I learned vector supercomputing from them. Back in the 1980s, I was teaching them practical parallel supercomputing instead of them teaching me vector supercomputing. To say that Philip Emeagwali, the inventor, was taught practical parallel supercomputing is like saying that a boy gave birth to himself and then created his own father. By the definition of invention, the inventor cannot learn what will make the next fastest computer fastest. By its definition, the world record fastest supercomputer can only be invented, not learned.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.